That's amazing. A father who's getting his son back from brain surgery, and he's totally fired up. We love our sons. I want you to know that. We'll do anything for you guys. Just reach out.
Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe, like, share.
So the goal of these events, guys, is not for us to preach to you. Okay, what we all recognize as men and as dads that started this whole group is that we have so much to work on as well. Right? We have so much that we need to work on as well. We're flawed in so many ways. Right? And what we found is that getting together with a group of men, a group of dads that just love their kids, we found that we've gotten stronger by working together, by talking together, by breaking bread together, by praying together. We've seen it better our lives and our families. Because all of us, just like you guys at 16, 17, 18, all of us as adults, we still wrestle with, as Steve Miller calls it, we still wrestle with that that's in all of us. Right? And so we're not here to preach to you. We're not here to tell you what to do and what not to do. We're here to love you, and we're here to let you know that you have an army of people in this community that will be here for you. That's what these days are all about. We're not here to talk at you. We're here to work with you, to grow with you, get better with you, because we need to help you. Good to go?
Come on. Awesome.
All right, so here's what's going to happen today. We've got three awesome speakers. Many of you know Timmy Garstka. Timmy's going to talk to you a little bit about his journey, what brings him here, what brings him here with our group and also with you guys. Okay, and then we have, for those of you that have never met Giuliano Basile. I've known Giuliano and his family my whole life. His mom and dad knew me when I was a kid. And then when I started working at the high school, I was able to work with Giuliano and his brothers and his sister. And Giuliano left East Meadow High School, went off to college, and became a United States Marine. Went from an enlisted Marine to an officer of Marines. And after a long journey is now back in the area, and Giuliano has joined our group as well. He's going to speak to you guys. And then last but not least, I think what we're all most excited about is Jake. Right here. Last but not least, Jake is going to share with you guys as well. And after that, it's going to be quick. We're going to get out and we're going to compete because we believe that there's a lot to be said about competing with your brothers and grow that way. So we're psyched to have you guys. If you have a great time this morning, spread the word, man. Tell your friends if you want to hear. All right? Happy to have you. Happy to see you guys. For those of you that are new here, man, we love it that you're here. Keep coming. Spread the word.
Yeah, say a prayer. Guys, thanks for coming. It's great to have everybody. God, you're so great. God, we need you so bad, and we need one another as well. Please help us to use one another. Please help us to use you. And please work with this time so that, one, we can be filled up with something to take back out of here, and two, we can leave encouraged, knowing that you love us. I pray we also leave having a lot of fun with the bodies you gave us and with the opportunities you've given us as well. Thanks for all the men who came to support, young and old. We appreciate them all. God bless us all today. In Jesus' name, amen.
So, who here, I'm going to ask a question to lead off here. Who here knows what a house is built on? Foundation, right? You think the house would be standing if you didn't build it on a foundation, you just built it on the dirt? Think it would stand, right? It wouldn't. So what we're doing here is we're trying to give you a solid base for your foundation. And I'm going to tell you a little personal story about me. And I stand before you. I'm a 50-year-old guy. I've got 2 great kids, and I've been a professional failure my whole life. And I'm thankful for those failures. The first one with me, the first major one started, and I'm going to tell you why I'm thankful for them. I was about 12 years old. Wasn't really good at anything. Was a little overweight. Middle child in an average, neighborhood, right? And I was kind of in the shadow of 2 older brothers that were really, really good at everything and really, really smart, and a little sister who was the princess of the family. So I was kind of lost. So getting into trouble, running with a bad crew around that age where you're really, kids that are really having problems are starting to emerge, right? And I was in that crew. So my father had enough of me and basically said, "You're out of the house if you don't go get a job." And I was 12, right? I'm a kid, right? I'm younger than you guys. So I decided to hop on my bike, ride 3 or 4 miles up to Springfield Country Club, and I wanted to caddy. That, being outside is something I always liked. So I decided to go up there, rode my bike, sat on the stoop, didn't know anybody. and I watched for about 4 weeks a bunch of dudes go out and caddy before me, and I never got out. I was up there 4 weeks, never made a nickel, rode my bike back and forth, and the guy's name that was the golf pro there was a legend in the golf business in Western Mass. His name was Harry Matson, and I get a little choked up thinking about Harry, but Harry was awful to me my first season there, awful. Barely looked at me, and Harry was like this big, handsome-looking guy. If you want to see what Harry looked like, Google Steve McQueen when you get out of here. All the dads know who Steve McQueen is. Steve McQueen was the king of cool, right? So Harry was like this really, handsome guy. All the women loved him, could play golf. He was like the coolest dude I ever saw, and he wanted nothing to do with me, so he put everybody out. I kept on coming back, and I never got out. So I started emulating, again, building your crew and building your base. I was looking at the guys that were getting out ahead of me, how they dressed, how they talked, how they engaged with the members. And at a private country club, I had no experience with that. My parents were two, working class people. We didn't have any money, right? But all of these really successful people. I watched these guys that were maybe a couple years older than me, engaging, eye contact, handshakes, Mr., Mrs., having their shirts tucked in, right? Some of the stuff, I've coached a lot of you guys. Some of the same stuff that we used to crawl up and down one side of you guys when you were young men, that really made a difference to me when I was a kid. It made a difference. So I started copying these guys. All of a sudden, one morning, after about a month of doing it and copying these guys, I got a loop. Went right down the first hole, big smile, sunshine day, just like this. It was July. It took me to July to get my first caddy job. And I went out, came back the next week. All of a sudden, I wasn't the last guy to get a loop. I was like in the middle of the pack. By the end of the season, I was getting out every time, a couple of bags, and then Harry knew my name by the end of the year. Still wasn't very nice to me, but he knew my name. But again, resilience, right? To be a guy, you got to be resilient. And again, it's too bad in this world right now that it's not cool to be a man right now. There's all this other stuff going on in the world. You guys are men, right? Part of being a man is family. You're going to have coaches that don't like you, right? Or you think they don't like you, or they're hard on you. You can't bitch and moan about it. You just got to keep on coming back. So fast forward a little bit. Over the next couple of years, I think I got fired by Harry 3 or 4 times. Every time he was having a bad day or something went wrong, get the F out. Don't come back. All right? I kept on coming back. Before I knew it, I was running the bag room for him. I was the guy assigning on my 3rd year the guys that went out caddying, and it was because of the guys that I was emulating, that crew, that base I was building, right? The resilience I showed by not quitting, right? Before I knew it, he asked me to be his assistant pro, so I was a golf pro for a few years. And he became like my second father. He became my mentor. He was a guy that once he kind of opened up his heart to me, he was in a healing process too. He was a damaged guy. He had a lot of issues too. But we kind of healed together, and he was really, really good to me the last years of his life. So I worked for him for a few years, and the biggest honor of my life to this point, besides having Andrew and Nolan, was when Harry passed away a few years ago. I did his eulogy. And, he was like a second father to me. But again, I think it was through resilience and through my faith. And he was the first man that ever put faith in me. And you're going to hear a lot of guys that know their way around the Bible a lot better than me. If you guys are just starting, I'm just learning too, right? These guys can quote Bible verses. I listen to Coach O. I listen to Stevie. They can do it like the back of their hand. They know the backstory. John Harding's another guy that knows it like the back of his hand. Just pick a spot. Pick a spot. So one of the readings that I took was Psalms 145:14. The Lord upholds all who fail and lifts up all who are behold down. So when you get kicked, you got to get back up. Been kicked down a couple of other times, and it was all because of drinking when I was a younger kid. I loved to party. Like Steve Miller talked about last time, there was nobody that liked to go out and rip it up at a keg party and do keg stands more than me. So when I was a senior in high school, I'd worked my way up. I was going to be the next assistant pro at Springfield Country Club, captain of the golf team, had a chance to maybe go to school and get a scholarship. I got drunk. I got drunk at the Big E. Who's been to the Big E? All right. I got thrown out of the Big E for life as a senior in high school. For life. Lost my scholarship. Almost lost my job. Fast forward, I kept on coming. Tried to clean my life up, switched the crew I was with completely, stopped hanging out with those guys. They used to pick on me for playing golf. Got rid of them. Started hanging out with a new crew, a little more responsible, a little bit older, got my head on straight, worked down in Florida, and I failed at golf. I found out that I wasn't good enough to make it down there. So the first guy that I ever caddied for heard that I had failed at being a golf pro, called me in Florida and offered me a job in the beer business. Again, building your base, coming full circle, eye contact, learning how to engage with older people, right? Went to work for him for 5 years, got a job for Coors Brewing. Fast forward again, the third guy I ever caddied for called me after 20 years in the beer business. He was the CEO of Eastern States Exposition. He said, "Tim, I heard you've had enough of the beer business. How'd you like to come and be my director of sales?" See how it's coming full circle, guys? And you never know where it's going to come from. So the guy that I caddied for, at the place where the guy hated me that wouldn't get me the caddy job, ends up calling me 20 years later from the place that I was thrown out of, and now I'm the guy that's basically running the show for him. So you want to have the top of your head explode by being resilient? So again, as I take this thing home, all right, because I could go on and on, there's 100 other stories I have in my life, right? But when you think you're down, when you think somebody's picking on you, whether it's a coach, and I deal with it with my own kids. I picked on my kids all the time when I coached them. I was really hard on them. And sometimes I was probably too hard on them. And some of the guys that were around when I coached my kids, you know what, sometimes I cringe at some of the stuff I said to my kids, but it was all meant because we care. And I'm sure your dads are the same thing. Coach Sayers, I've heard him tear Zach a new one. But it's all because he cares, right? We want good for you. So when you have that down point, you think somebody's kicking you down, you got to stay resilient because you never know the reason that they're trying to keep you down. It might be something in them. You just got to keep coming. Have faith. Dig into the Bible. Remember what Psalms said right here. And listen to these guys. Pick somebody out that you can emulate. Okay? And it's who you hang with. I tell my boys all the time, look around. It's who you hang with because those are the guys, when you're going to get kicked down in life, right? When you get kicked down, there's going to be a lot of people that don't pick up the phone and call you, right? Like, hey, buddy, how you doing? Right? Crickets. I want you guys all to be one of those guys to pick up the phone, right? And it's the same guys that got you into trouble are the same guys that aren't going to call you. I know that firsthand. Don't be one of those guys. Know your crew. Be the leader. Okay? That's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. There's two honorary guests in this audience, my father and my neighbor Carl as well. My name is Dr. Giuliano Basile. That'll come full circle here. So thank you. And Johnny Martin, Mr. Martin, as I used to address him, was a strong mentor of mine. And growing up, you should know I was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. My parents worked extremely hard to get us out of certain environments, and they did that. I do remember one instance of a major fire, and I do equate this to my father. If it wasn't for him, I don't think most of us really would have survived that night. We eventually moved into East Long Meadow. Studying wasn't my first priority, I promise you that. And you find different people in your life that make you feel good in the moment, but those people unfortunately aren't there for the long run. And you learn this throughout your journey. I too played sports, and I got involved with soccer very heavily, and that's where I found my passion. But I still struggle a lot with the reading and writing, and the math was subpar at best. I remember finally getting through my high school years, and it came time to apply for colleges. I was denied 6 colleges. I remember teachers and counselors telling me, hey, maybe try tech school. I was grateful because UMass Dartmouth had what was called College Now at the time. And College Now gave me the opportunity to meet one of my good friends. His name is David. He went on to become a nuclear engineer. I remember pulling out a book and saying, hey, you need to teach me how to read efficiently. And so he did. And I watched and listened to him as he read these words. And I could string together my own words. And eventually text-to-speech became prevalent. And then, of course, I used that technology to enhance my reading and writing skills. From there, I was always in search of something bigger and greater, right? I just didn't know what it was. Always trying to fill my cup. I eventually pulled out the Bible app and learned from the Bible really how to strengthen my reading. I got through the Bible twice from front to back. I do remember distinctively while in New Bedford, Massachusetts, riding my bike. It was a Wednesday, Ash Wednesday actually. Coming back, I see the congregation exiting this church, St. Francis of Assisi. And I remember going to that church door and asking the congregation if I could receive ashes. And I was told, unfortunately, the church had closed for the evening. Sorry. And this moment hit me fairly hard because it almost felt I was at the gates of heaven, and I was told, no, you can't come in. So I was broken. And I went back to that church the following week, and I ended up becoming an altar server at 22 years old. And I would serve that church Monday through Friday and on Sundays. Got involved with the CCD courses and so on and so forth. Really got involved with the church. It wasn't until one day Father Harrington asked me to be a part of a burial service for a fallen Army Ranger. I had no idea what military was at this point. Of course, I went. I watched as Army Rangers in their uniform in the backdrop and the casket in front of us. And the casket is always draped with the flag, and it symbolizes that person's patriotism towards their protection of our freedoms. And I remember this flag barely falling off of this casket. And I saw 3 or 4 service members jump out of their pews and try to save that flag from hitting that deck or hitting the ground. And I remember looking at those gentlemen in that pews, and I said, what do they have that I don't? So, fast forward, in search of becoming joining the military services, I eventually get hooked up with both the Marine Officer Selection Officer and Air Force Selection Officer. There were some delays with the Marine Corps, so I went to the Air Force. On my way home from speaking with the Air Force recruiter, I get a phone call from the Marine Corps recruiter for the enlisted side, asked to join what's called a police session. Next thing you know, I'm with 12 other guys, and we're carrying around this big log through the woods, running through the water, the streams, and so on and so forth, getting dirty. And I knew that's what I needed to do. I called my parents, said, hey, join the Marine Corps. Asked for some help to pack up some of my gear, brought it all back, ended up giving everything I owned away. My car, my possessions, furniture, clothing, money. I left for Paris Island on January 7, 2013 with $20 and an ID in my pocket. That was it. Nothing else. Throughout that journey, I continued to pursue education, ended up becoming a mechanical engineer prior to joining the service, ended up achieving an MBA, started my own company, working for the Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center, writing policy for that crowd, and then from there achieved the Doctorate of Engineering. So I tell you all this because on my journey, I was right where you were. I was questioning what it is that I was going to be doing next in life. And I promise you, it's easy to get involved with some of the crowd and some of the kids that are just doing the same thing every day and not wanting to grow, not wanting to challenge you. It's easy. It's easy. Wake up, have someone tell you this is what we're doing because it's easy. If you challenge yourself and get into the things that are difficult, I promise you they will become rewarding. Never thought I'd have the opportunity to come back here. Tim talked about full circle, coming back to your base. I equate this to our roots. And I'm here, hopefully, that my words can help you grow from whatever challenge you're facing today. Thank you.
Wow, that was great. I loved how Tim was talking about being resilient and pushing through adversity, and how Giuliano was talking about how he was able to find himself and found what he wanted to do. It's just great stuff, super impactful. Guys, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Jake Miller. Most of you guys do know me. I'm a junior at East Sun Meadow High School, and I want to talk to you guys about purpose, right? I've been hearing the word purpose a lot more in life now that I'm growing up more and about to start applying for colleges and try to figure out a job to take on. But I feel like it's a lot more than just what job or lifestyle I'm going to be pursuing. Purpose is a lot deeper than that, right? So I'm going to start off telling a story about who I was freshman year, right? Freshman year, I thought my purpose was to fit in. That's all I wanted to do. All I wanted to do was to be accepted by my peers, to feel a part of. So I do whatever I could to get accepted. I do whatever I could to feel cool, like from those old high school movies of that cool kid. I wanted to be that popular guy, right? So that's all I wanted to do, right? So I joined sports teams, and I'd get a part of groups. I would go out drinking with my friends, trying to be wild and put on a show, try to just get approval from people. I'd smoke. I'd do whatever I could to fit in. Whatever people were doing, I tried to match them, and I just wanted to feel a part. Right? And in the moment, I'd have a great time. I was living life. I was getting all I wanted. I was getting the praise. I was having fun with my friends, and I felt accepted. Right? But it wasn't until I'd come home after going out, and I'd sit in my bed, and I'd start to think. And I'd think about all I've done that night and just how it was making me feel in that moment, and I just felt empty. I felt like everything I was working for was just leaving me lonely. I didn't feel like the purpose I was pursuing was filling me up. And so I started to question, what purpose should I start figuring out, right? So this is what leads me to God, right? Ever since then, I've been trying to really grow in my walk with God. And I've seen so much good. He's been filling my life. Guys, I don't have to live in fear anymore of getting caught by my parents after getting drunk, or going out and doing stupid things and feeling consequences of that. I don't have to lie to anybody. I can just be free, right? I don't have to put on a show for anybody. I get my confidence from God. I don't have to get my confidence from how people view me. I don't have to put on a show for people anymore, right? I've been able to develop some real friendships with people where I can talk about my life, talk about struggles, talk about things I'm going through, and actually not feel judged in this situation, right? So in this, I want to share a scripture from Jeremiah 29. It says, God has plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Guys, God wants you to grow. He wants you to do great things in this life. He wants you to be productive and be filled. He doesn't want you to be lonely. He doesn't want you to feel like you have to be something for other people and all you have to work is to please others, right? And by following God, I've been able to set myself up. I'm pretty good at sports. I'm good at school, and I'm setting myself up for good college opportunities and a good path in the future. And I feel like in all this, I don't have to live in fear. I don't have to live in whatever I'm doing anymore. I don't have to please others, right? And with all that being said, I feel like purpose is not just where you end up. It's not just the things you accomplish. It's not just the job you're going to pursue. It's the reason. It's the motivation that gets you to a certain point. Your purpose pushes you to be the best version of yourself, right? So I want you guys to just think about your own life real quick, to examine yourself. What are you guys living for? What are you guys living for right now? What's your purpose in life? Is it filling you or is it leaving you empty? If it is leaving you empty, I urge you to go after a new source of life, a new source of purpose, a new source of meaning to fill you up, right? For me, it was God. That's what it was for me. But I encourage you to go after purpose. Look for something that will fill you up in this life and make yourself a better person. So that's all I got to say. Thank you for letting me speak. Hope it meant something to you guys.
Guys, great day. This is it's really great that you guys came out here to listen. Anytime someone decides to give their heart to listening to other people, we appreciate it so much. And what we're doing right now is we're going to hand out some merchandise. Tim gave us some merch. It's just for participation. Now, Andrew gets one. I hope it's the right size. We can exchange it later if there's any left over. Nolan, I'm sorry. And then Andrew's got one over here. Boom. And that's a couple, but you can give it out to the next guy. But what we wanted to do is we just had some speakers. They came to talk about some things. What are some takeaways we have? Does anybody have some takeaways from what they heard? How did this fall on your ears? Before you even answer. The reason we're doing this one today, I want you to know from the last time we got together, super important, one of the young guys, one of the young men in the crowd went to Mike Baxter at the gym and said, hey, Mike, what I saw last time, when are we doing it again? And is there one for my father? Can my father come to this? So there was a dude at Best Fitness talking to Mike Baxter saying, I want this for myself again, and I want it for my father. They saw some value in it. What value did you guys glean from these three stories, Tim's, Jules, and Jacob's? The son influenced the father, just for reference. So what's the takeaway? Anybody got one? Awesome. Jules just said that Tim's friendships influenced him later in life. Awesome. Here's some merch. Anyone? Anybody else? This guy right here. What's your name? Anderson's got a takeaway. Let's go, buddy. If people don't judge you, you can do stuff that you didn't know you could do. Thanks for giving. Appreciate it. This guy's awesome. Oh, merch. You can pick on someone, Tim. Caden. Everybody has a different path. There's bumps in the road, but it's worth it if you keep going. Thanks, Caden. Got a little more merch. I got no more merch, but we can still have this if anybody's got one. Over there, Father. You're always learning on your journey. You can get back to the path if you keep going forward. Good, Aunt. That's great stuff. John. Thank you, John. Thank you. You know, the takeaway that I do take from all the stories here tonight, I mean, Tim was talking about that caddy leader guy who in his life continued to circle back. His relationship that he grew when he was 12 years old with another adult man helped him later on in life to get job after job. It stuck with me that Giuliano, he had to teach him how to read as he was going off to college. He had these military guys show him what men who are purposeful are all about. And then Jacob, I know, also was built by other men. And that's what we are. We're a bunch of people who need to be built. Manhood is not discovered on your own. It's impossible. So as much as you need to, as brave as you feel like you are, reach out and try to grow. Try to grow from one another, but even reach up. And we need one another, and then we can be the best version of ourselves that we can be, like Jacob said. That's amazing. A father who's getting his son back from brain surgery, and he's totally fired up. We love our sons. I want you to know that. We'll do anything for you guys. Just reach out. Hey, guys, thanks for listening. You guys are awesome. We're going to play some basketball. We're gonna set up 3-point competitions. We're going to get some basketball skills going. I'm fired up about that. We got 3-point competition down here, a 3-point competition down here. Then we're going to have the world's biggest game of knockout, which I love. And then we're going to have a time competition. We've got gift cards for those who get drawn, and we got gift cards for the winners of each of the competitions. So, guys, we got to line up. We got to get 5 spots each for 3-pointers. And then we're gonna get some shots. So, guys, half of you down here, half of you down there. We'll set it up.
Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe, like, share.